It is 12:05, actually 12:06, and we're going to go ahead and start. I'm Bobby Spiegel. I'm President and CEO for the Corona Chamber of Commerce, and we want to welcome you to this presentation today. It's a partnership between NAVSE and the Corona Division of Naval Surface Warfare Center, and we're just so honored and privileged that the panel that's here today is going to share some great information that will help many businesses to qualify and to be able to help the economic engine that the NAVSE operation offers to our region. And with that, I'd like to just remind that if you would like to mute yourself as well, if you have a question, if you can put it in the chat box, that would be great. It is my sincere pleasure that I get to introduce Troy Clarke, who will be able to moderate and take care of things, and he will be introducing the panelists. Troy?
Yeah, thank you, Bobby. Thanks again for hosting us, and thanks to all the participants joining the line, and especially to our panel. We're going to talk about the multi-million-dollar Small Business Innovative Research Program and where you will learn about how to apply for these SBIR funds from the U.S. Navy. And just want to thank you all for joining us. And thanks to Bobby and the Chamber for doing a great job supporting our military, our local community. While the current pandemic is causing major interruptions in our nation, the Navy continues to execute our mission around the world and work with industry and academia to drive innovation into the hands of our sailors and Marines. And broadly, the Naval Research Enterprise is engaging all activities around the country to ensure our vital partners survive the current economic conditions, as well as bring new partners into that, which is the goal of the Naval Agility Office, also called Naval X. And I'm pleased to announce that the Navy announced our region yesterday as home of the Inland Empire Tech Bridge. It's going to be anchored by NAVSE Corona, and so we're officially part of the Naval X network. We join with 11 other tech bridges, and the goal is to drive innovation into the hands of the warfighter more quickly with greater agility. And it's a part of a whole of the Department of Navy effort. The Navy is also taking additional bold steps to maintain our defense industrial base through accelerated funding awards. And so several weeks ago, the Office of Naval Research issued the SBIR 20.4 topic. It's a phase one broad agency announcement, and you'll learn a little bit of that language here coming up with our panelists. The application window is open and it closes May 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And this BAA comes under the Technology Acceleration Program, and it's intended to provide a rapid response to the topics of interest to the Navy. Jennifer will elaborate some on the technology acceleration process later on, but it includes streamlined evaluation, its selection and contract award procedures, and it includes issuing awards within 45 days from the close of the application process. Our commanding officer, as you heard, maybe if you're on the Corona Chamber call earlier this morning, he believes this is a great opportunity for startups and small businesses within the Inland Empire to propose solutions to help the Navy and Marine Corps address warfighting challenges. So today's webinar is part of our growing outreach program under the Inland Empire Tech Bridge, and with our community partners like the Chamber, Riverside Community College District, and UC Riverside. So now I want to introduce our panelists. We have really a distinguished set of panelists here today. We have Ms. Jennifer Stewart, who is our Technology Transfer and SBIR Program Manager with the Naval Surface Warfare Center. We have Julie Padilla, with the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, which comes under the Riverside Community College District, and then Martin, who's a small business innovative research expert at UC Riverside and part of their small business development and incubator program. So with that, why don't I have our panelists give a self-introduction and a little bit of topic overview, and then for Julie and Martin, if I could, you do the same as well, but then if you could share what the services and how you serve the companies in our region, that would be great. So I'll kick it off with Jennifer.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jennifer Stewart, and I humbly serve you and the community at your Navy Warfare Center. I'm our local federal lab in the Inland Empire. And my mission there is in technology transfer as well as SBIR. And we're going to dive deeper into SBIR in just a few minutes. But one of the things I want to emphasize is the importance of collaboration and partnership within our region, which is really represented on our panel today. You know, my world of SBIR is more of an internal look at aligning our scientists and engineers with generating and creating SBIR topics and getting those out to the public for you to compete on. And that can only be complemented by folks like Julie Padilla in the PTAC and Martin at UCR, who take the external partner perspective and help you be successful in applying for these funds. And so I'm really happy to be here, and I hope we all learned something new today. I'll pass it on to Julie.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm Julie Padilla. I'm the director for the PTAC, which is the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. So PTAC is funded by the Department of Defense and is hosted by the college, the Riverside Community College District. And what we do, we help businesses to get government contracts. It could be federal, state, or local contracts. We provide our services through one-on-one counseling sessions, meetings, and also training related to government contracting. So we assist you basically on anything related to government contracting. If you're new into the government market, we assist you in completing the registrations, getting certifications, looking for opportunities, understanding and responding to solicitations. And also we can assist you after you get an award if you need assistance on audits or getting paid. We are located in Riverside. Our address is Riverside, but we're basically next to March Air Force Base. All of our services are free. There's more PTACs in California. We serve Riverside and San Bernardino County, but if you are located for some reason outside of our service area, you can let me know and I will get you in contact with your local PTAC. So this morning, I'm looking forward to share with you some information about those basic requirements in order for you to participate of the SBIR. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Julie. Let's turn it over to Martin.
Troy, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. So I am an EIR, which stands for Entrepreneur in Residence with the University of California Riverside Office of Technology Partnerships. And our aim as the OTP is to catalyze translation of university research and discoveries. And we also guide opportunities for region business enterprises with the aim of exploring and capitalizing on entrepreneurship endeavors. So our mission is multifold. It includes technology commercialization, of course, corporate and strategic partnerships, which includes funding from corporate venture capital and also business development with the aim of innovation and entrepreneurship. So capitalization, we focus on grant funding opportunities, strategic alliances, operations, market development. We are also a leading university site for the National Science Foundation Innovation Corps, short I-Corps, which is of great value and interest to SBIR grant funding agencies, and also of great value likewise to high net worth individuals, venture angels, venture operating companies as well. Within UC Riverside's Office of Technology Partnerships is the SBIR STTR Resource Center, and that is headed by Misty Maduro. Therein we locate agencies, all 12 of them, and there are a myriad of sub-agencies as well. We help our clients understand programs and requisites. We connect and communicate them with the right people, the program directors. We also identify, locate, and connect our clients with all university and regional resources to help them move forward with translation or transmission of their innovations into the commercial market. We do a deep dive with regard to your proposal content. This includes study approach, which is usually a bugaboo for those of us who are not properly trained for that, research management and so forth, the commercialization plan, And we also build your team if we feel that you may need fortification or help with additional expertise. We will work with you to build that team as well. So my message today is that there are several areas that we need to pay attention to, and I call them deal killers or prospects for us if we don't pay attention to it. One of them is just simply a proper grantsmanship. But the others are with regard to presenting our technology as if as the best possible ability to make certain that the reviewers understand innovation and significance of our proposal. So our proposals are every bit as much of a sales document as it is a research approach. We help with research design management, and you also need to pay attention to that commercialization plan that I had mentioned before, and the customer development, team composition, and compliance with all funding opportunities. So our role within SBIR STTR Center as part of the Office of Technology Partnership is a very deep dive, hands-on approach to ensure that your chances of winning an SBIR STTR approach is as optimal as it possibly can be. So I hand it back over to you, Troy. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Martin. Those are all great insights. Thanks to our whole our whole panelists for all that helpful information for our listeners. Now let's dive into our Q&A. So first up, I want to see if Jennifer could address this. Can you explain what are the goals of the Navy's SBIR program?
Sure. So small business innovative research and small business technology transfer. Those of us that speak acronyms call it SBIR and STTR. Program goals are overarching. There are 11 federal agencies and 13 Department of Defense components that participate in the SBIR side of the program. The goals of the program are to stimulate technological innovation, increase small business participation in federally funded R&D, foster participation by socially and economically disadvantaged firms in technological innovation, and increase private sector commercialization of federal R&D. You will see that Navy specifically is getting technological solutions in the hands of the warfighter. And so oftentimes, the Navy's SBIR topics, in fact, not just oftentimes, always, the Navy SBIR topics are really getting down to the nitty-gritty of providing that very specific solution so that our soldiers and sailors can complete their mission. Now, on the other side of this is our STTR program. There's 5 federal agencies that participate in the Small Business Technology Transfer Award. 7 DoD components participate in that. And the program goals of under STTR are to expand that public-private sector partnership to include joint venture opportunities for small businesses and nonprofit research institutions such as our friends here at UCR. To bridge the gap, performance of basic science and commercialization of resulting innovations, foster technology transfer through cooperative R&D between small business and research institutions, and increase private sector commercialization of innovation derived, again, from federal R&D. And we have some content later where Martin will dive more deeply into the STTR side, as UCR is one of the qualified research institutions that can partner with your small business in competing for STTR. Thank you, Troy.
That's great, Jennifer. Could you elaborate on the 3 phases of the process?
Absolutely. So SBIR is broken down into 3 phases, 2 of those being funding opportunities directly from the SBIR program, and then phase 3 gets into that commercialization transition process. So phase 1 is your feasibility study. You know, determine the realm of the possible. What is it that you think your company, your skill set can reasonably do in support of the SBIR topic? You'll determine the scientific or technical merit of your idea or your technology. If you are awarded a phase 2 award, that's where you get into your prototyping phase. That's your tech development and demonstration. You'll build and test prototypes. All phase 1 awardees may compete for phase 2 funding. And then lastly, we have phase 3. It's the commercialization transition phase. And so this is where there's non-SBIR, STTR government and or private sector funding. This is where you actually find your end user, your customer, that makes a commitment to acquisition and transitioning your SBIR solutions into practice.
All right, thanks very much, Jennifer. Great insights. And Julie, can I talk about, so if somebody sees this, these SBIR topics, can you talk a little bit more detail how the PTAC supports the companies in the region, and then maybe even define what the definition of small business as it relates to SBIR?
Sure. Yes, the PTAC, we can assist you in understanding the program, the SBIR. And also, we can assist you in completing the basic requirements and guidelines in how to respond to the actual announcement. What we recommend you, if you're new into the SBIR, first, we suggest that you get familiar with what exactly it is, the SBIR. Look at the different agencies' announcements, the ones that they had on previous years and the one they have open, and try to identify where you can see your business that can fit in terms of providing solutions for that specific agency. Once you review the solicitation or the announcement, we suggest that you write down the questions that you may have, because you have a time frame where you can ask and contact a technical point of contact and get more clarification on what they're looking for. So we will be able to assist you through the entire process of responding to the SBIR. And in order for you to participate, yes, you need to be a small business. So you have to go through different registrations in order for you to be able to participate of this. And I think I will talk about the registrations or basic requirements later on, Troy, or you want me to jump into that now?
We can cover the registration piece a little bit later. So
okay.
Is there a limit? Is there an employee limit for to be deemed a small business?
Yes, 500 employees,
okay.
Yes.
Okay, all right, great. And then can you talk about how this might be similar or different even if a company was seeking a government contract?
Well, starting with the actual size standard for a small business, when you're looking for other type of contracts, SBA, they do have a different size standard, and it depends on the products or services that your company provide. So the process is going to be a little bit different in how they determine if you're small or not. The rest of the requirements may look a little bit different. Something that is very similar is that you have to go through one of those registration, which is SAM. And what is going to look different also is the actual announcement and the solicitations in other opportunities.
Great. Thank you. I just want to remind also the listeners that DoD is not just interested in physical technical solutions. So 56% of DoD acquisition is for services. So it's not, you may not be in the manufacturing side of things, but you may be in the service provider arena. So keep that in mind. So let's bring in Martin into the conversation again. And so Martin, how would a company find a topic within the SBIR environment? All right, Martin, I think you're on mute.
Thank you very much. We'll try that again. So thanks, Troy. First, I would suggest that you go to a general official homepage for federal-wide programs, not just the Department of the Navy, and that would be www.sbir.gov. There is also grants, grants.gov. And Troy, I'm assuming that we will be able to, there you go. There's a lot of it right there. I'm assuming that we'll be able to provide everyone who's joining us today to have access to those links.
Yes, they're going to get a copy of this
Yeah.
page right here is the PTAC
Oh,
page.
terrific. That's fantastic. So expressly with regard to the Department of Navy, there is navysbir.com that I would encourage you to take a look at. And then if you wanted to conduct contextual searches, that's navysbirsearch.com. Now, the Department of Defense has prepared and completed or is in the process of nearing completion of a submission portal. And it's the future home of the DoD SBIR STTR home, and that's DoD-SBIR-STTR.mil, M-I-L. Those would be the areas that I would encourage you to take a look at first, and do that on a semi or fairly regular basis as new FOAs or RFPs are coming to the forefront, at least on an every 3-month or so basis.
All right. So as we walk them through, so they've navigated the broad agency announcements, looked at these websites, and so they're ready to submit. What would a proposal look like?
Well, a proposal will, first of all, it's either a contract, I think as Julie or Jennifer had indicated, or a grant. But a proposal looks for a Department of Navy or DoD contract. It will include an abstract. It will include key definitions. It will include a detailed study approach, research design, management, and so forth. It will include commercialization if requested and so forth. And it will include very comprehensive delineation of the proposed study approach. And if you are proposing a study approach, these questions or topics would include objectives, aims, tasks affiliated with each aim, the design of the approach, testing, statistical analytics, whatever is called into play in order to complete designated or specified or stipulated deliverables. Now, one of the distinguishing characteristics that I think that we may have addressed slightly is the difference between a grant and a contract. Now, a contract is going to be quite specific and a lot more forthright with regard to what the key expectations will be relative to a satisfactory completion of a contract. A grant may be open, a little bit more open-ended with regard to what you may be proposing and how you would design that research design, that study approach, and so forth. But given it being a contract for the Department of Navy or otherwise, it's really important that you read the instructions regarding evaluation criteria. And on top of that, Troy, you're going to see some language that you need to pay attention to where you have to have a sound approach to making incremental progress toward a topic solution. So what does that mean? It's because, again, it's the topic specified in the BAA or the RFP, it delineates what's expected to be completed by the end of phase 1, likewise for the end of phase 2, and then it also provides a suggested direction for completion of phase 3. So again, DoD, a contracting agency, and as such, your award is an agreement between a buyer and a seller. That's a distinguishing characteristic between a contract as opposed to providing a service or a good or an innovation by the way of a grant. So one of the specific things that they're asking for is that an incremental gain. You cannot guarantee results, but you're expected to present an approach to your proposal that will indeed result in at least incremental progress. So that's what the areas that you need to focus on. And overall, the bugaboos, the areas that we need to pay closest attention to are the study approach, research design, the commercialization plan as requested. The team composition is absolutely critical, and it is not comprised of a team that has a sterling background and experience, but not in areas that are expressly pertaining to the proposal. You need to delineate your Steve's credentials and capabilities relative to what is expressly being asked for with that particular RFP.
All right, great insights, Martin. This is outstanding. So if you can you talk about the distinguishing characteristics between like the Navy and DoD SBIRs and then the other federal SBIRs?
Sure. Again, it's a contract versus a grant. What I would propose everyone do is to take a look at the BAA, also known as the Broad Agency Announcement, and read through that. That may sound flippant on my part to say, well, just read through it. But the Department of Navy, or for the most part, all DoD, Department of Defense requests are very specific in terms of the outcomes that they are looking for, the projects and the assignments and tasks that they are seeking that you deliver. So they are very specific with regard to overview, key dates, interests, expectations. Use this as your roadmap and check it repeatedly to determine whether or not you are addressing every need, every desire, every expectation that the DON is requesting. It is a lot more specific and a lot more definitive in terms of the roadmap than it may be for an omnibus opportunity or a BAA, Broad Agency Announcement, again, say pertaining to the National Institutes of Health, the Energy, or the National Science Foundation. The Department of Navy and other DoD FOAs or RFPs also include key definitions. They also are very specific about eligibility, performance requirements, parameters, research terms and conditions. And they also have very, very specific proposal instructions. Not that the others do not, but again, being a contract, they are very specific about format, content, requirements, your cover sheet, your technical proposal, and everything else that comes into play. And they are also very specific with regard to evaluation criteria. Now, there are indeed a lot of similarities between grants and contract RFPs and so forth, but here is where you very, very specifically need to read through the entire Broad Agency Announcement to understand expressly as a contractor, a seller to a buyer, what the contractor is expressly asking you to deliver to them. So it's specific as opposed to what might be an omnibus or a BAA with any other agency, which may be offer us an innovation that we think might be of interest, and we'll take it from there. So those are the distinguishing characteristics, contract versus grant.
Excellent insights. Thank you for that. Can you talk specifically how companies can use UCR to engage in supporting the STTR process?
Sure. So as Julie or Jennifer may have already explained, the distinguishing characteristic between an SBIR and an STTR is that an STTR requires the collaboration between a small business concern, us, with the university or a not-for-profit research agency. And to that end, there are other conditions and terms, including an agreement that must be signed with regard to intellectual property sharing and so forth. In addition, there are requisites for an SBIR that calls for the principal investigator to be, and they call it employee, but I'll explain exactly what that means. They call it employee of the small business concern for at least 50.1% of the time. What that really means is that the principal investigator needs to be dedicated to the performance of the project for 50.1% of the time, from the commencement of delivery of the funds to the completion of the final deliverable. Now, for an STTR, the principal investigator does not need to be employed or dedicated to the small business concern. And more often than not, it ends up being faculty or a researcher at the University of California or some other university, research-based and so forth, or it can be elsewhere. So they do not need to be an employee or even 1099 with the small business concern. So those are the two distinguishing characteristics. It also, by the way, may involve, it all depends upon the university. There are cost-sharing requisites that are quite possibly distinguishing between an STTR and an SBIR. Both may include subcontracting, but one, the STTR, may have specific requisites relative to how much the university would expect and would be entitled to with regard to a sharing and deployment of the amount of funds that they get from the funding agency. On the other hand, with an SBIR, there can be some discussion and negotiation as the university or researcher from somewhere outside of the small business concern would derive or reach an agreement in terms of how much they would be paid for to perform the roles and specific responsibilities as delineated in the proposal.
Great insights. A couple questions here. I'll throw one to Jennifer, and then maybe somebody else can answer the follow-on. So the first one is, can somebody partner with NSWC Corona as the Navy on an SBIR? And then two, a question from Rhonda Clement: how can somebody become a research partner with small businesses who want to pursue innovation but don't have a university research partner already? So Jennifer, I'll turn that over to you, and then after that, somebody else or Jennifer can answer that follow-up question from Rhonda.
Sure. So yes, small businesses can partner with your local warfare center in achieving your SBIR objectives. And the way that we do that is, we do not qualify as an STTR partner. That is left to our universities, colleges, and our FFRDC folks. But as a warfare center, we can enter into what's called a cooperative research and development agreement with companies pursuing SBIR topic solutions that align with your local Navy base mission. And so if you have a technology that's in a data analytics space, a measurement technology space, we can collaborate together to address the Navy's needs, and then you can list us in your proposal as a partner when you're going forward with your SBIR objectives. Now, we can partner with a company on any agency's SBIR, so it doesn't have to be solely a Navy SBIR topic. In fact, more often than not, I find that our Warfare Center labs and our counterparts across the country, when we partner with companies through a CRADA for SBIR, it's oftentimes we're working towards an Air Force topic or an Army topic or a DARPA topic, and not actually a Navy specific. And one of the reasons why that's beneficial to both parties is it gives us an insight locally too into what our counterparts in the services, Army, Air Force, are looking for in solutions, and how really the Navy and that other agency can jointly benefit from these goals. And so the simple answer, Troy, is yes. Through a cooperative and research and development agreement, we can support companies in achieving their SBIR objectives.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And then just follow up, I'll throw this out to the panel. How can somebody become a research partner with small businesses who want to pursue innovation but don't have a university research partner?
So Martin, do you have, coming from UCR, do you have perspective, like if any of our other local colleges or universities wanted to be considered as an STTR partner? What does that process look like? Are you familiar with navigating that at all?
Well, Jennifer, I navigate it on a case-by-case basis. It's not so much the university or the institution itself. It really, to me, depends upon the credentials, experience, caliber, capability of the researchers that are being considered. The review study sections and the reviewers with each of the individual agencies are evaluating the fundworthiness of a proposal based upon multiple criteria. So in addition to study approach, significance, innovation, commercialization plan, and so forth, is the composition of the team. And so there can be a researcher at another university, and it doesn't have to be a research-focused university such as the University of California at Riverside. But that individual does need to present with perhaps publications, have a luminary recognition in terms of serving or presenting at leading conferences and so forth. But if they do not have the background or credentials, and if they do not have sufficient background research, data, findings, and so forth, that may give the review study sections enough comfort level that this individual can actually design, develop, and manage the project all the way through the completion of the promised deliverables, then that could indeed be a problem. So I specifically would need to meet with all of the members of the team and render my opinion, quite frankly, in terms of whether or not we have all of the requisite pieces in terms of talent that are needed in order to successfully complete the proposed project. So Jennifer, it's not the institution itself, it's the individual within that institution.
Awesome, Martin. Thank you for jumping in on that. I want to turn a question over to Julie right now. Julie, can you talk to us about, who's, in terms of company structure, who's eligible to receive the SBIR awards, and do they need to own the company to receive an award?
Yes, it has to be a small business in order for them to receive an award, and then they and they have to own the business. So there's some basic requirements they have to complete, and that information will be provided on the different registrations that they have to complete in order to participate of the SBIR.
Great, thank you for that. I have a follow-up question for Martin. So if they have, this is from Rhonda, if they have professors with a high level of credentials, how can they know what projects are seeking expertise? And I think that gets back to your broad agency announcement and how do you navigate those various
Sure, yeah. Thanks for asking me to clarify that, Rhonda. Again, if I was that researcher or if I was that professor, I would certainly regularly tap into SBIR.gov, which showcases FOAs. FOA standing for Funding Opportunity Announcement again, or grants.gov. But I would also look into each one of the 11 funding agencies on a regular basis. And you can also, by the way, get on their respective mailing lists, and they will send out to you preliminary and then an announcement of when their next FOAs are out. And that is a good way to look into whether or not there might be something that could be a fit. And there are loads, there's a myriad of opportunities. So for example, if your researcher in mind might have an interest in robotics or automated cars, or in something that might make transportation a little bit more productive and efficient, there could be several agencies that might have an interest there. It might be the Environmental Protection Agency. It might be the Department of Transportation. Interestingly enough, when you look at agencies such as the USDA, Transportation, EPA, or otherwise, you may be predisposed to think, well, gee, the DOT, they only focus on traffic or transportation, not necessarily so. If you're looking into something like healthcare or the life sciences, interestingly enough, it's not just the National Institutes of Health and its sub-agencies. It could be the National Science Foundation, and it could very well be the Department of Defense. And a case in point, the very first venture that I had received funding on pertained to the diagnosis and therapy, a companion diagnosis and treatment of cervical and then later ovarian cancer. The initiative was funded entirely by the Army Research Lab, and we conducted all of our clinical trials at Army medical centers. So who would have thunk it? So my suggestion would be to be vigilant and go through grants.gov on a general basis. Likewise, SBIR.gov. Get on all agency mailing lists, but then periodically look into those who you feel might be of the most germane interest to you as well. And Troy, we may have that list available. If not, Misty and I would be very, very happy to provide information on all 11 of those agencies as well.
Great. So they could just reach out to you at your UCR address?
Yeah. Does that help? Did I kind of sort of not really answer the question, Rhonda, or am I?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Absolutely,
Okay.
you did. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Okay.
So Martin, have you, thanks for bringing in your personal insight on how that worked. Did you
Yeah.
ever, or what are the requirements for, the venture capital funds, the private equity funds, hedge funds, and you talk about joint ventures and partnerships?
Sure. Well, first of all, if you're asking questions about eligibility and so forth, it can be somewhat confusing until you read it about 100 or so times, then you start to get it. But basically, we had, I think, discussed ever so briefly about eligibility requisites, about being a United States citizen or a permanent resident alien and so forth. And by definition of permanent resident alien, that doesn't mean someone from the planet Zorkon. It just simply means that from another country where you are not a citizen, but you need to have resided and done and performed work for 183 days over the course of those 3 years, including a minimum of 31 days within the United States. What was that? Can you refresh my memory again, Troy? What exactly was the second part of that question?
Yeah. What about joint ventures and partnerships?
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. So joint ventures and partnerships, and they can include corporations, they can include other businesses, they can include universities and so forth. Everything needs to be United States based, and including the VCOCs, venture capital operating companies, hedge funds, or private equity funds, and so forth. There are requirements that ownership and control must be United States based. Keep in mind that SBIR and STTR are designed and developed to stimulate the economy, generate innovation, create jobs within the United States. So we have to be very, very specific there. So the eligibility requirements are in addition to the 500 employees that Julie had referenced, but it has to be owned and controlled within the confines of the United States. There are, however, case-by-case bases where we might want to have a conversation with the program director if there were some specific studies that might be conducted across borders elsewhere, but that is somewhat rare and it's on a case-by-case basis.
Great, thank you for that, Martin. Appreciate that. Before we wrap up our program, could I have Jennifer kind of quickly walk us through the websites for the announcement? So the Navy SBIR.com and the DoD SBIR STTR.mil. Walk us through that as people get people familiar with how those are laid out and work.
Sure. So in the interest of time, I'm going to focus on the Navy SBIR.com. And I believe Linda has a slide that'll reflect the homepage, a screen capture of the homepage of the Navy SBIR.com website. And so here on the right-hand side, you will see that there is basically a summary on the current Navy topics that are out on the street for you to participate in. There's the 20.4 and the 20.2. And what you need to know about 20.4 is it closes on 28 May. So you still have some time to participate in that BAA, the Broad Agency Announcement. And the unique differences between those two is that 20.4 is what's called like an out-of-phase SBIR topic for the Navy. As Troy has mentioned and the Corona Chamber hosted earlier this morning, we've had an official announcement from Secretary Gertz yesterday on our Naval X tech bridge for the Inland Empire. And as these efforts move forward with Naval X, you will see similar things with our friends in the Air Force in terms of AFWorks and the ways that we're trying to approach these traditional programs in an accelerated and agile manner. And so 20.4 is the Navy's response to the Naval X tech bridge efforts. And what they've done is accelerated the pace, like Troy mentioned, the time to award is accelerated, but also the topics are much broader. And so from the website, you can use the links there to get to those 4 topics that are under 20.4. And the benefit when they're so broad is that, like Martin mentioned, you know, typically in DOD and in Navy, you're usually addressing a very specific technology area. In 20.4, it is intentionally broader so that they can get in a wider reach of technological solutions on those topics. And so some of the key differences there between those two is not only whether or not you have to just be somewhere in the neighborhood, which is 20.4, or whether you need to be very specifically on point in 20.2. You'll see that in 20.2, we're currently in what's called a pre-release phase. And pre-release is the time that you would work with the PTAC, work with Julie at the PTAC, work with Martin at UCR in talking to the program offices that have released this topic. So if you look at the center of the homepage there, that first content that's available on the website, it shows you by system command, each one of those system commands, which it just kind of looks like an acronym eye chart, I understand, to most of us. So, but all the topics under each of those system commands, and it'll link you to the program office and the program manager specifically supporting those topics. And so in pre-release, this is your time to do customer discovery, to build that proposal and meet those requirements of your proposal submittal while having free and open and private communications with the program office. Once pre-release is closed, you will no longer be able to engage with them in this way. There's very strict rules for that. And so you will move then to the open phase, which is 3 June, and then it'll close on 2 July. And so I know that for those of you that have never heard anything about SBIR before, this is really like drinking from the fire hose. And that's why we wanted to introduce to everyone the great and phenomenal resources we have in the Inland Empire supporting our efforts. And the data shows that companies on average win their first SBIR award on their 3rd try. So if you go for it and you submit a proposal and you don't get it the first time, please be encouraged that it's rare to get it in the first time because there is a lot to navigate. And what you will do is you will build your skills and your finesse in selling your technology to the program offices, and all these resources are there to help you get to that win. Thank you, Troy.
Thank you, Jennifer. Great insights there. And want to open it up to Martin, Julie, to see if you have any additional insights you'd like to offer our companies before we wrap up.
Well, I did want to, this is Martin, I did wanted to follow up on Jennifer's excellent review on that with regard to second and third opportunities and so forth. Again, it's contingent upon the agency. But I did want to caution everybody because sometimes this amazingly is broached with me. And that is the entrepreneur or the grant proposal writer may say, you know what, I think I'm just going to submit this proposal, and then the reviewers are going to tell me everything that's wrong, and then I'll just follow their advice and then submit a successful proposal next time. But I want to caution you that that's not necessarily the best way to go, because you could write such a bad proposal that they won't even consider it in the first place, and you will not thereby benefit from them taking the time to offer a comprehensive and critical appraisal of your proposal. Also, they keep records, and so if they remember you as the guy that just tossed them a garbage proposal, that's going to have an impact as well. So don't just write a proposal thinking, well, I'm not going to make it, I'll go for second or third. If you work with me, that won't be acceptable. And so you have to plan on winning it the first time, regardless of the odds, as Jennifer had indicated. You still need to plan on winning it first time out.
Great insights. Julie, any final thoughts?
Sure. I will add that I always recommend to my clients, when you're pursuing a government contract and you are new to this market, you have to do your homework. You have to research and get familiar with what is out there and what has been done already. And we are here to support you through that process. So as UCR can assist you as well, the PTAC and other local resources that are free are here to support you through the process. So I encourage you to contact us and let us assist you to be able to be successful in this process.
Excellent, Julie. Thank you. And really, just want to reiterate what a tremendous talent you have on this panel. And in the Inland Empire, these resources like UC Riverside, the PTAC, these various cities have resources, and it's all about building jobs, building the economy to make us strong. And I want to thank you for joining us today. If you have any specific questions for NSWC Corona, you can reach us through the Naval Agility Office email, which is agility@navy.mil. So the word agility@navy.mil. And please put NSWC Corona in the subject line, and they'll get it routed to us, and we'll look forward to hearing from you. And so on behalf of the Naval Surface Warfare Center Corona, the new Inland Empire Tech Bridge, I want to thank the Corona Chamber of Commerce for hosting us and supporting us. And thanks to our panelists for sharing their valuable time, their expertise, and their resources. Amazing, amazing panel. And especially thank our attendees for taking their time and using their innovative spirit to help the Navy and Marine Corps execute our mission to defend our country. I want to thank you all and have a very great Navy Day.
Thank you very much indeed. Bye for now, everybody.
Thank you. And Troy, I just wanted to real quick say thank you so much to you for moderating, for Jennifer, for Julie, for Martin. Great information that was shared. Again, if you would like to receive the handouts, we'd like you to email to linda@mychamber.org. The slide is up there now. As well, if you're not a member yet of the Corona Chamber of Commerce, we serve a large regional base. Please contact Robert Yanez, and he will be glad to connect you with the right things to be able to help you in your business. A couple of more slides I'd like to just touch on are some upcoming events that we have. The first one coming up, or the one in June, I'm sorry, yeah, the one in June will be Paul Webb's, that's July 2nd, I apologize, is an NLP seminar. Great information, very popular, and Paul is a dynamic presenter. The next two slides that I want to briefly, quickly go through is a couple of fun things. I know people are tied up right now and kind of reserved on what they're doing, but by August 5th, We should have a great opening and be able to do our golf tournament. It's Golf Classic. The information is on the slide. And then later on in September, we will have our women's conference. This is for Riverside County. Great opportunity to congregate and get some great information on. So on behalf of the Corona Chamber of Commerce, I just want to say thank you for being on this call. Thank you for watching. And if there's anything that we can do to answer your questions, please reach out to us. Have a fabulous day. Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.